The story begins on the outskirts of France, centered around a small boxing gym. Inside that place trains an amateur boxer named Samir Barda, a man working hard to sharpen his skills and chase his dream of becoming a professional fighter. One day, while training is underway, a group of thugs suddenly storms in and attacks everyone inside. Seeing the chaos unfold, Samir cannot stand still. His adrenaline kicks in, and he is forced to join the fight. That moment changes everything. The French police soon arrest Samir, and he ends up behind bars. His coach is deeply disappointed, watching a promising career collapse just as it was beginning to rise. After serving several months under probation, Samir is finally released under strict conditions. He must stay out of trouble and live a clean life. But freedom does not last long. Not long after leaving the prison gates, Samir is approached by two men from his past, former gang members from his days as a drug courier. They deliver a message from their boss, offering him a job once again in the drug trade. Samir immediately refuses and instead chooses honest work at a construction site, digging and hauling just to earn a clean living. After work, he walks home alone. Along the way, the same two men approach him again, this time ordering him to come with them on behalf of their boss, Farhad. Sensing danger, Samir makes a split decision and runs for his life. Even as they chase him on a motorcycle, he keeps running until he reaches an abandoned building. There, he is suddenly attacked, but manages to fight back, striking his attacker so hard that the man dies on the spot. And this is where the story of Farang begins. 5 years later, the story shifts to a quiet fishing village in Thailand. After the death of that man, Samir fled France and chose to disappear from his old life. He settles in this peaceful coastal town, hoping to escape the pull of violence that has always followed him. The villagers welcome him warmly. He works as a fisherman on the side, earning just enough to get by. Life is simple, modest, and calm. For the first time in years, Samir feels like he can finally breathe and live in peace. On the other side of his life, Samir has already built a family of his own. He marries a local woman named Mia, and together they are blessed with a beautiful daughter named Dara. At this point in his life, Samir feels truly happy, finally living the peaceful life he once dreamed of. Mia works at a restaurant owned by her cousin, Sombat. Meanwhile, Samir works full-time as a tour guide at a hotel, where he also helps transport foreign tourists from the airport. On top of that, he sometimes works as a fisherman to earn a little extra money. In his spare time, Samir occasionally joins local Muay Thai competitions held not far from where he lives. With his background as a boxer, adapting to this fighting style comes naturally to him. He reads his opponents well, moves with confidence, and easily overpowers them. His natural talent quickly becomes obvious in every match he enters. This excites Sombat, who secretly enjoys gambling and often places bets on the fights. During Samir's second match, he once again dominates the fight. However, this time things change. Behind the scenes, Sombat and the event organizer want Samir to lose on purpose. They promise him triple the usual payment if he agrees. In the end, Samir allows himself to be beaten. Hansa, a legendary Muay Thai fighter and respected trainer, immediately notices something is wrong. He confronts Samir and expresses his disappointment. Eventually, the truth comes out. Samir only did it because he desperately needed money to fulfill Mia's dream of buying a piece of land by the beach. After receiving the money, Samir and Mia visit the land office to process the purchase. However, their arrival causes confusion when the officials notice that Samir is a foreigner, or what locals call a Farang. Mia explains that her father is French, just like her husband, but despite her explanation, the officers continue to complicate the process. In the end, the deal fails after the landowner suddenly raises the price. Seeing the disappointment on his wife's face, Samir does his best to comfort her. He promises that he will keep fighting and find another way to earn the money they need to make their dream come true. That night, Samir goes to Mia's workplace to make sure she is safe and to talk with Sombat about the land deal. During that meeting, Sombat reveals that the land belongs to a powerful local crime boss. Even knowing how dangerous the man is, Sombat agrees to help by arranging a meeting between Samir and the landowner. The man turns out to be Narong, a French national who has lived in Thailand for many years. At his side stands his trusted enforcer, Qasim. From the moment they meet, it is clear that Narong already knows why Samir has come, thanks to the information Sombat provided earlier. At first, Narong refuses to lower the price of the land. However, once he learns that Samir regularly travels back and forth to the airport for work, his attitude changes. He offers Samir a deal. In exchange for a price reduction, Samir must agree to smuggle a package for him. This puts Samir in an impossible position. He knows the risk is enormous, but he also wants to make Mia happy. In the end, he accepts the offer without telling her, hoping to surprise her once everything is over. When the time comes, Samir begins the operation. He carries the package while escorting tourists, just as planned. Narong has even placed one of his men undercover as an airport officer to help the process go smoothly. But things quickly fall apart when real airport staff begin to notice something suspicious. Chaos breaks out. Samir makes a split-second decision to run. He leaps over a tall fence and escapes into the forest, eventually hiding in a swamp where he manages to avoid capture. In the process, he is forced to abandon the package. After escaping the airport, Samir returns home, fully aware that his failure will bring Narong's fury down on him. Knowing the danger, he urges his family to leave immediately. But before they can escape, Narong and his men appear right at their doorstep. A brutal fight breaks out. Samir is overwhelmed by the armed thugs and beaten nearly unconscious. As his strength fades, memories of his happy life with his family flash through his mind. Mia refuses to run. She fights back, but she is stabbed and killed right in front of him. With Samir barely conscious, Narong and his men pour gasoline over the house and set it on fire, burning everything behind them. In a final act of survival, Samir throws himself into the water. He barely escapes death and is later rescued by none other than Hansa. Not long after, Samir slowly regains consciousness after undergoing traditional treatment under Hansa's care. As he awakens, he begins to see visions of Mia, appearing from the darkness as if urging him to avenge her death. In that moment, Samir is also reminded of Dara. Her fate remains unknown, and even Hansa has no idea where she might be. A few days later, as his strength slowly returns, Samir makes his way to Sombat's home. His arrival shocks Sombat since everyone believes Samir died in the massacre. Even the local authorities have already closed the case, allowing those responsible to walk free. Holding on to a single photograph, Samir refuses to give up hope that Dara is still alive. Determined to find her, he begins his search by visiting a woman who works at a cafe where he once met Narong. She cannot offer much, but she remembers Qasim, who is often seen spending time at a nearby bar. That lead is enough for Samir to move forward. As night falls, Samir heads to the bar. There he encounters several ladyboys who seem drawn to him and willingly share information. They tell him that Qasim is currently staying at a brothel owned by Narong. When Samir arrives at the location, he recognizes the faces of the men who took part in slaughtering his family. Without hesitation, he attacks them one by one, driven by pure rage. The fight turns brutal and relentless, with Samir showing no mercy. After cutting through them all, he questions a group of women and finally learns the truth. Dara has been taken by Narong and moved to Bangkok. Without wasting time, Samir seeks out Hansa for help. Hansa agrees without hesitation, equipping him with a sacred weapon and gifting him a necklace passed down through generations. Together, they head straight for Bangkok. Upon arriving, they immediately move toward one of Narong's bars. Their presence quickly draws the attention of the guards, triggering a violent confrontation. Eventually, Samir manages to extract crucial information from a madam, who reveals that Narong is now hiding at a factory near the coast. Before long, they arrive at the location. Hansa positions himself outside the factory, deliberately drawing attention from the guards and Narong's men who are on watch. His suspicious behavior works exactly as planned, luring several armed men toward him. They have no idea that the old man standing before them is a legendary Muay Thai fighter. A brutal fight breaks out as Hansa faces them head-on. At the same time, Samir pushes his way deeper into the factory, driven by the hope of finding Dara. Inside, he questions one of the workers. Although she appears cold and indifferent, she eventually leads him to a warehouse where dozens of young girls are being forced to stuff drugs into shrimp for packaging. Sadly, Dara is not among them. This discovery fuels Samir's rage even further. His anger explodes, and he begins tearing through anyone who stands in his way. Narong, already aware of Samir's arrival, sends wave after wave of his men to stop him. But fear no longer exists in Samir's heart. His fury drives him forward as he takes them down one by one. From a distance, Narong calmly watches the chaos unfold through surveillance screens. After surviving countless brutal encounters, Samir finally reaches Narong's private room. body battered and barely standing. There, the truth is revealed. Narong had planned everything under the orders of Farhad, a man seeking revenge for his son who was killed by Samir 5 years earlier. Even more shocking, all of Samir's information had come from Sombat, who had been blinded by greed. Yet deep down, Sombat still had a conscience. Fearing the darkness of Samir's revenge, he chose to hide Dara to keep her safe. Believing Samir to be completely defeated, Narong laughs, unaware that his confidence is misplaced. As he moves in to finish Samir himself, fate turns against him, and he meets his own end. Outside, Hansa lies gravely wounded. Having lost too much blood, he slowly breathes his last. The next day, Samir continues his search for his daughter. He goes to Sombat's new restaurant, where Sombat finally admits his guilt and accepts responsibility for everything he has done. As Samir points his weapon at him, Dara suddenly appears and calls out to her father. In that instant, Samir lowers the gun and pulls his daughter into a tight embrace. Sadly, the weight of guilt becomes too heavy for Sombat to bear. In the end, he chooses to take his own life. So the moral of the story is never chase easy money or shady deals, because it always punches back harder than life ever could.